Good morning, everybody. My name is Jesse Burke, and I'm the Chief of Special Operations with Red Sky Alliance. Today's threat brief contains information gathered from open source and WAPAC Labs collections over the last week. Next slide, please. For the agenda today, we're going to briefly discuss recent reporting and an update on APT 28, aka Fancy Bears, activities. For open source and social media, we'll cover recent data breaches and cyber attacks, and we'll go over 7 days of trending, including the latest APT activities, botnet activity, cloud security, blacklists, and keylogger activity. Next slide, please. APT 28 is a very active advanced persistent threat group with ties to Russia's intelligence services. APT 28 is also known as Fancy Bear, Group 74, Snake Mackerel, Strontium, Swallowtail, Grizzly Steep, Pond Storm, Sednet, Sophacy, SAR Team, Turla, and Waterbug. The group has a history of phishing combined with zero-day use in conjunction with custom tools, often based on open source tools. Recent observed tactics include heavy use of phishing, rewriting open source tools, patching legitimate software to be used maliciously, masquerading as other APT groups and attacking targets, and multi-stage payloads, sometimes dropping 2 pieces of different malware with the same purpose for the sole purpose of persisting on the system in case one gets discovered. They still have the other one. Next slide, please. APT 28's tools include SetUploader, DownDelph, which is the Delphi version of SetUploader, XAgent, ZebraC, XTunnel, LoJack's rootkit, and USB Stealer. APT 28 first uses SetUploader or the newer ZebraC before installing XAgent on targets of interest. Note, as I said before, though, they'll use 2 of the same type of implants, so we've actually been observing both SetUploader and ZebraC being installed on the same target before moving on to stage 2, which once ZebraC or XAgent has been deployed in stage 2 during the infections, it then goes on to attempt to install XTunnel, USB Stealer, or LoJack's rootkit as a third and final stage. USB Stealer and and XTunnel are both used to access air-gapped networks or networks that normally are not externally facing with internet access. And note in the diagram, SedRico is listed in the second stage, but it's actually the name that some vendors use for SetUploader and DownDelph stage 2 payloads. Red Sky Alliance and WAPAC Labs denotes most APT 28 tools by dropper and payload rather than SetUploader and SedRico. Next slide, please. So for this week for gray noise anomalies, first up we have port activity on port 30303, which is the default port for Ethereum cryptocurrency client. We also have SMB scanning and internal blue, both remaining high on the list, and it is unclear how the 2 differ. They're both on the same port. Mirai also remains high, with Malware Must Die closing in on some of the lead Mirai botnet authors. Telnet scanning and brute forcing also made the list and is likely associated with Mirai activity and web scanning. And then also on the list is old classics, web scanning, and MySQL, which will always have activity. Ports 65428 and 65429 are alarming, as there is no known crucial CVEs or remote code execution against XSAN, which is Apple, that haven't been released since 2017. XSAN, or the service belonging to those 2 ports, is Apple's storage area network or cluster file system for macOS. Next slide, please. In open source this week, Interpol has made 3 arrests associated with MageCart, TrickBot, observed using SKAI-MAS GmbH's file signature. Big change coming to Windows Server this March announced that insecure LDAP requests will be rejected by default. remote code execution exploit for remote desktop gateway was released on the 24th, and that's specifically CVE 2020-0609 and CVE 2020-0610. Travelex on their 25th day of, Travelex were on day 25 of their ransomware incident, and 27 of their 29 websites were still offline. We observed their parent company had a 34% stock price decrease, which is always interesting to correlate stock price to cyber events. And then finally, the account Zcam was observed dumping 300 plus NordVPN accounts to Pastebin 2 days before the NordVPN breach. Next slide, please. Last week, we recorded approximately 1.2 million indicators. These collections include our threat recon, keylogger, malicious emails, and Pastebin collections. The number on this slide shows the indicators in their respective collections. These indicators are available to paid Red Sky Alliance members weekly, as well as our blacklists, which come in CSV, FortiSIM, and Proofpoint formats. Next slide, please. These are the APT and Botnet indicators collected in the last week. We had 67 unique APT indicators over the past 7 days. You can use your two-factor authentication to log into CTAC to download the APT indicators discussed today. Please contact us over Slack or via email for any assistance. On the right, you can see our top sinkhole statistics sorted by malware. Next slide, please. Topping the list again this week, we had SickyPot and Maudi APT. There was a change up in the top APTs with Carbonac and Weckby filling in the last 2 spots this week. Next slide, please. Botnet activity over the last 7 days remains fairly consistent with prior trending, and these autonomous systems show the highest number of detected bots. Next slide, please. On the cloud security front, we're seeing botnet activities targeting the same cloud providers as usual. Again, this week, Amazon is the highest risk cloud environment, according to our data, followed by Peak 10 and Microsoft. Overall high-risk environments include Alibaba, Rackspace, SharkTech, and Hurricane Electric. TierPoint and GoDaddy are still cautionary risk environments this week, and ONR is on the lower risk environment. Next slide, please. In WAPAC Labs malicious email collection, we can see an attacker using Kareen with the alias, and which could be an attempt to typo squat a legitimate email address. Also, Ari Metal, a Turkish garbage and office supplies company, is being targeted with a Windows Trojan. As we've seen in recent weeks, there are multiple emails, containing whack attack malware with a subject line regarding a payment due or order number. Next slide, please. Our blacklists are published weekly. On the right-hand side, you can see some of our keylogger stats. In the past 7 days, we observed 34,987 sinkhole connections from new unique IP addresses and 92 unique email accounts with compromised with keyloggers. Please go to redskyalliance.org to inquire for additional support, complete blacklists, red X-ray, and API access. Next slide, please. I want to thank you all for joining us today. Please visit our Red Sky Alliance portal at redskyalliance.org for additional cyber intelligence reporting. If you have any questions regarding the topics briefed today, please get in touch with Jay McKee at wapaclabs.com. Thank you, and we'll see you all next week.